Some men are born to rule, others are born to preserve. Imam Bukhari was born to preserve the words of the Prophet, words that would guide humanity until the end of time. From his earliest years, he carried a memory so sharp and a heart so pure that his name would become synonymous with authenticity and truth. His story began not with power or wealth, but with loss, hardship, and a gift that would astonish the world. Wahab certainly sent down the reminder, and we will surely preserve it. Quran, chapter 15, verse 9. Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Bukhari was born in the year 8010 in the ancient city of Bukhara in Central Asia. His father, a man of knowledge and piety, died while Bukhari was still a child. This left his mother to raise him and his brother alone. The family was not rich, but they carried a wealth of faith. His mother, strong and devoted, prayed constantly for her sons and encouraged them toward learning. Even as a boy, Bukhari showed signs of brilliance. He possessed an extraordinary memory. While other children struggled to recall lessons, he could repeat them word for word after hearing them once. Teachers were astonished. Some thought he was merely talented, but as he grew, it became clear this was no ordinary gift, it was a destiny. At 10 years old, Bukhari began studying Hadith, the sayings and actions of the Prophet. He sat in circles with older students, listening intently, absorbing every word. Soon, he was not just listening, but correcting. Once, when a teacher misquoted a chain of narration, young Bukhari raised his hand and recited it properly. The class fell silent. How could a child correct a master? But when they checked the texts, his version was flawless. From that day, his teachers treated him not as a child, but as a rising scholar. By the age of 16, Bukhari had memorized thousands of hadith, along with their chains of transmission. He distinguished not just the text, but the reliability of each narrator, who was trustworthy, who was weak, who had a perfect memory, and who was known to slip. This attention to detail would become his hallmark. That same year, he traveled with his mother and brother to the holy cities of Mecca and Medina for pilgrimage. Most pilgrims performed their rituals and returned home. Bukhari stayed. He made Mecca his home, spending years in the sacred city, writing, studying, and memorizing. The Kaaba became his anchor, the Prophet's mosque his sanctuary. In Mecca, he began his first writings, recording the sayings of the Prophet with meticulous care. But even here, his thirst for knowledge was not quenched. He knew that hadith were scattered across the Muslim world, in Iraq, Syria, Egypt, Khorasan. To preserve them, he would need to travel. And so, with little more than a few belongings and an unshakable will, the boy from Bukhara began a journey that would carry him thousands of miles and shape the course of history. But before he became the master collector, he was first the boy with a gift of memory. A boy whose childhood was marked by loss, whose mother's prayers sustained him, whose teachers were humbled by his brilliance, and whose heart was already set on a mission that would outlive him. Knowledge is a treasure, but it does not come to those who sit still. It waits in the hands of the wise, scattered across lands, carried in the memories of men. To gather it requires patience, sacrifice, and travel. Imam Bukhari understood this better than anyone. From the deserts of Arabia to the markets of Iraq, from the mosques of Damascus to the libraries of Egypt, he traveled the world in search of truth. His life became a journey, his mission a map, his footsteps the path that preserved the words of the Prophet for generations to come. God will raise in rank those who believe and those who are given knowledge. Quran, chapter 58. Verse 11. After years of study in Mecca, Bukhari set out to gather hadith from every corner of the Muslim world. His journey spanned decades, thousands of miles, and hundreds of teachers. He traveled to Basra, Kufa, Baghdad, Damascus, Cairo, Nishapur, and beyond. In every city, He sought out the most reliable narrators, questioning them carefully, comparing their words with others, testing the strength of every chain. His standard was unmatched. To him, the words of the prophet were sacred, and they could not be preserved carelessly. If a narrator was known for even the smallest dishonesty, Bukhari rejected their report. If a narrator had a weak memory, he refused to accept it. If there was a gap in the chain of transmission, he set it aside. His commitment to truth was absolute. One story captures his integrity. On a journey, he heard of a man who preserved a hadith. When he reached the man's home, he saw him tricking his horse by pretending to hold food in his hand. Bukhari turned away. "If he can deceive an animal," he said, "how can I trust his words about the prophet?" For him, the reliability of a narrator's character was as important as their knowledge. Over the years, he collected more than 600,000 hadith, but he was not content to simply gather. He sifted, tested, and refined. From this ocean of narrations, he carefully selected around 7,000 that met the highest standards of authenticity. These became his masterpiece, Sahih al-Bukhari, a book so rigorous that scholars would declare it the most authentic text after the Quran itself. Yet the road was not easy. His travels were filled with hardship. He endured hunger, poverty, and exhaustion. At times he had no paper, writing instead on bones, leather, or palm leaves. At times he walked for days through deserts with nothing but water. But he never wavered. To him, every step was worth it if it brought him closer to preserving the truth. His brilliance drew students and followers in every city. Crowds filled mosques to hear him teach. Scholars debated him and left humbled by his knowledge. Ordinary people marveled at his memory, for he could recite thousands of hadith with their chains of transmission without a single mistake. Yet with all this, he remained humble. He reminded his students that knowledge was a trust, not a trophy. But his uncompromising standards also brought trials. Some scholars grew jealous of his influence. Others resented his refusal to accept narrations they considered valid. In Nishapur, his fame attracted large crowds, but his rivals spread rumors against him, forcing him to leave. In his hometown of Bukhara, the ruler demanded that Bukhari give private lessons to his children. Bukhari refused, saying knowledge is for all, not a privilege of kings. For this, he was expelled from the city of his birth. He bore these trials with patience. He never sought power, wealth, or favor. His mission was higher than politics. His only loyalty was to truth. And though rulers exiled him, scholars envied him, and rivals slandered him, his book and his legacy only grew stronger. By the time he returned to Central Asia in his later years, Imam Bukhari had completed the work of a lifetime. His journeys had taken him farther than most men ever dreamed. But the true distance he traveled was between truth and falsehood, between preservation and loss. And by his hand, the words of the prophet were preserved with a purity that would endure until the end of time. Some men leave behind palaces, others leave behind armies. Imam Bukhari left behind a book so powerful that it became second only to the Quran in authority. Studied by millions for centuries, Sahih al-Bukhari was more than ink on paper. It was a fortress of truth, built with care, preserved with sacrifice, and defended by the integrity of one man whose mission outlived him. Indeed, it is we who sent down the reminder, and indeed we will be its guardian. Quran, chapter 15, verse 9. By the time Imam Bukhari reached his 40s, he had collected over 600,000 hadith. But he knew that not all could be preserved in one book. His goal was not quantity but purity. He set the highest standards the world had ever seen for authenticity. Every narrator in a chain had to be known for honesty, flawless memory, and personal connection to the one who passed it on. If even one link in the chain was weak, he cast it aside. Out of hundreds of thousands, he chose only about 7,000 narrations. Each one he reviewed with prayer, seeking God's guidance before placing it in his book. He is said to have prayed 2 cycles before writing down each hadith, a sign of the weight he gave this mission. The result was Sahih al-Bukhari, a collection so rigorous that scholars of every generation after him declared it the most authentic book after the Quran. The impact of this book was immediate. Students memorized it, scholars commented on it, and ordinary people felt comfort in its words. It became a foundation of Islamic law, theology, and daily life. To hear a hadith in Bukhari's collection was to hear truth with certainty. His name became a seal of authenticity, a guarantee that what was read or heard was pure. But his path was not without trials. His integrity created enemies. In Nishapur, his fame was so great that thousands attended his lessons. Some rivals, envious of his influence, accused him of arrogance and spread rumors. In his hometown of Bukhara, the ruler demanded that he teach his children privately. Bukhari refused, saying knowledge is a trust for all, not a privilege for rulers. For this defiance, he was expelled from the city of his birth. He spent his final years in exile, moving from place to place, often with little comfort. Yet he never expressed regret. His mission was not to please rulers, but to preserve truth. He continued to teach, his words recorded by devoted students who recognized they were in the presence of history. In 870, at the age of 56, Imam Bukhari passed away in the village of Kartank, near Samarkand. His death was mourned across the Muslim world. Thousands attended his funeral, weeping for the man who had given his life to safeguard the words of the Prophet. Scholars declared his passing the end of an era, yet his book ensured that his light would never be extinguished. Over the centuries, Sahih al-Bukhari spread across every corner of the Muslim world. It was copied, studied, and memorized by generations. Commentaries were written explaining its meanings, exploring its wisdom. Today, more than 1,000 years later, it remains the most studied book after the Quran itself. In mosques, universities, and homes, people still recite its words, still trust its chains, still honor the man who gave his life for truth. Imam Bukhari's legacy is not just in his book, but in his example. He showed that truth requires sacrifice, that knowledge demands discipline, and that integrity is more powerful than crowns. He lived simply, endured exile, and died without wealth, yet his influence outshines kings. His book remains a fortress that no army can breach, a light that no darkness can extinguish. He was called the collector of Hadith, but he was more than that. He was a guardian of truth, a servant of knowledge, and a man who proved that sincerity can change history. His story is told not because of miracles or wealth, but because of dedication, sacrifice, and an unshakable belief that the words of the Prophet must never be lost. And so his name endures, Imam Bukhari, the man who traveled the world with nothing but ink, paper, and faith, and left behind a book that still guides hearts 1,000 years later.